right, I just finished Dungeon Crawler Carl by Matt Dinniman. There it is. And if you haven't ever read a lit RPG, it's something that my brother likes and I like sometimes, and in fact my book is technically a lit RPG, but there's lots of different subcategories that it falls into. So essentially there is some aspect of it which is very much dominated by a digital game. So think about Tron. It's probably the most classic, well-known version of it. So one of them is that some form of system outside of Earth comes to Earth and takes over and forces humanity into a game. It's kind of a horrible game where most of humanity dies. So what you're really looking at is post-apocalyptic lit RPG. Dungeon Crawler Carl is post-apocalyptic lit RPG. And it's really very well written. Carl is surprisingly sympathetic. Good guy. His buddy, his partner in crime, as it were, is named Princess Donut. She is a cat. Now from this you might get that this is going to be fluffy post-apocalyptic lit RPG, and you would be wrong, because post-apocalyptic anything is generally pretty horrible. Everybody dies. There's lots of torment. There's lots of torture. When you throw in the game aspect, you get the whole there's somebody else doing this for their entertainment, which is just like deepens the pathos of it. So definitely not fluffy. There is a lot of swearing. There is some... My dogs are going through the dog door. There is some drug use, mostly cigarettes, a little bit of alcohol. There is no explicit sex, no romance. I would say this is, for its genre, a solid 4.5. Really well written, interesting story. Now what I do struggle with, besides the fact that these tend to be so dark, and often eventually they get to the point where they're too dark for me to read, and then I'll stop reading them. But they have a tendency to never end. So the premise of this book is that Carl and Princess Donut have to reach the 18th floor of this dungeon, and then they will have defeated their evil overlords and win the game. Of course, the game is rigged against them. They're never meant to win. Shades of Hunger Games. So this book is very much lit RPG, post-apocalypse, Hunger Games. And the first book takes you to the beginning of the 3rd level. If this continues this way, we're looking at a 9-book series. They just tend to linger and nothing changes. They get to the point where they've reached some static point of author's satisfaction, and you just get a whole lot of fights over and over and over again, and nothing ever really changes until you finally get to the end. And sometimes I skip to the end and I read them, and sometimes I don't. This one is going to be, for me, one where I would put it on my text-to-speech and listen to it run in the background, and most of the time if I miss something, I don't really care. There's not a whole lot that I'll have to go back and be like, wait, what? What just happened? Hold on there. So... but this is a very well-written version of this. So if this is your kind of book, you're probably going to want to sit down and just read it. But it may also linger. So we'll see. So that is the end of the first book of this series, and I'll have to see if the other ones are as good. I'll let you know. And I'm way over time, so I'll see you next time.